Hola. Can you hear me now?
Loud and clear.
Can you hear me? Okay.
Evening and welcome to the Bedminster Township Committee meeting of October 19th. This is Mayor Jacobs. I'll recognize that we have a full complement of the Township Committee attending remotely through Zoom. Committeewoman Moreski is with me in Town Hall, as is Judy Sullivan, who is off camera, I believe, but is here in the meeting room as well. Committeeman Hickey, Committeeman Stevenson, and Committeewoman Fernandez are remote. So Ms. Sullivan, may we please have the Open Public Meetings Act statement?
Yes, sir. Adequate notice of this meeting of the Township Committee was sent to the Courier News in Somerville and the Burnsville News in Whippany to all subscribers, and then posted here at the Municipal Building as of January 16th, 2020.
Great, thank you very much. We will start the meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. We've got a flag right behind us, so if you don't have one handy, please stand for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So we do have a few quick housekeeping issues to run through, which is the approval of minutes. So we have 2 minutes to approve. Those minutes include the October 5, 2020 regular Township Committee meeting via Zoom at 7 p.m. and the October 5, 2020 closed session meeting via Zoom at 8:45 p.m. Are there any questions or comments that have not otherwise been provided to Ms. Sullivan regarding those meeting minutes?
No.
Nothing from Renee. Committeeman Hickey, nothing. Doug, nothing. Gina, nothing. So can we have a motion to, Judy, I think we need to take Colin, Doug, Gina off mute.
Sorry.
Okay.
I'm going to turn that screen.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes, Mayor.
Second.
Was there a second?
Yeah, second.
A second. All right. All in favor of the minutes?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay. Permits and raffles. We have one permit raffle, which is a special use permit for MSC First Touch Soccer, which is permission to use one portable light tower at River Road Park from 5:45 to 8 p.m. on October 21st, October 28th, November 4th. And that will go until 7:30 p.m. on 10/23, 10/30, and 11/6. So we're running from 5:45 to 8 on the 21st, 28th, November 4th, and 7:30 p.m. on the 23rd, 30th, and November 6th during the soccer practices for the 11 to 12-year-old team. Judy, do we have any comments or any details regarding that proposal?
So you do have a application in your books. I know the Recreation Director and Deputy Clerk Robin Ray did receive this, I believe, over the weekend. And they have done this before, I believe, in the past years. This isn't unusual. But with the being so dark in the evening, they're just asking, this is for just one.
One light tower,
One
so
light.
not more, so
Yeah.
just one light tower, okay. So turn to the Township Committee. Any questions or comments concerning the special use permit application?
No comments.
No comment.
Okay, can we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
I'll
Second.
second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, before we start public comments, we've got essentially two main issues for public comment. One is the affordable housing program, and I'll do a little presentation before we start that discussion. But for those who are attending tonight's meeting with questions on Black River Road and the speed issues and certainly the speeding concerns on Black River Road in Pottersville, we will be discussing that under the discussion item. That's number 15 on tonight's agenda. So please save your comments on the Black River Road speeding issue until we hit that discussion item. That'll be a little bit further in the meeting. So before we go into public comments, I do want to talk about some issues following our last meeting regarding the appointment of CGP&H as the township's administrative agent, the fees associated with it, the services provided by CGP&H, and some of the information or misinformation that is being distributed around town. So first of all, and we identified this at the last meeting, well, welcome to October. October, so here we are in fall. It's also the time leading up to election season. And we're always sort of get used to some last minute misinformation bombshell. So the misinformation being spread this time is that the town is imposing additional fees on the unit owners of affordable housing. That is false, absolutely false, and it was discussed at our last township committee meeting. At that meeting, we approved CGP&H to take over as the town's administrative agent for the affordable housing program starting on January 1, 2020.
21.
Oh, correct, 21. CGP&H will charge the town a yearly fee of $23,400 to serve as administrative agent, and will then charge a fee of 3% of the sale price for the sale of the restricted units with a minimum charge of $2,500. And that's the fee that CGP&H will be charging to take the entire sale from the marketing, through the assistance, through the financing, if appropriate, all the way through the closing. That fee to CGP&H will not be paid by the unit owners, but will be paid by the township from the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. At that last meeting, I said there would be no change to the fees paid by the homeowners who are selling those restricted units. The homeowners will continue to pay their 20% recapture fee to the town's affordable housing program. And then the town will be responsible for paying CGP&H. That was discussed at the meeting and is on the township website. But let me repeat that again. The selling unit only pays the recapture fee, and the town pays CGP&H. They get paid their fee directly from the town. So if that needs any further clarification, I hope this meeting does it. If we need to put a resolution that finalizes it, that concept is built into the agreement with CGP&H that the town may waive the fee that is charged to unit owners and pay the fee directly. And we certainly incorporated that during the discussion and reiterating it tonight, and it's on our website. So once again, there's no additional fee to the unit owners upon the sale of restricted units. If you were told something different, I suggest you question the source of that misinformation. CGP&H will offer our residents a full service, fully integrated team of affordable housing experts to assist in marketing, financing, qualifying the purchasers, and providing assistance on property maintenance, and will work with the town's Affordable Housing Advisory Committee on deploying the affordable housing discretionary funds and putting them to active use. Mortgage assistance, dues assistance, down payment assistance, improvements to the affordable communities to keep those neighborhoods in good shape and to help the neighborhoods when it is needed. I ask that everyone look at the CGP&H website and check out their programming and their marketing, which is very robust. Sharon DeSico announced her retirement in 2019. And at that time, I asked her to stay on to allow the township some time to transition to a new agent. She agreed to do so. After that, the township staff spoke with our surrounding towns, our outside professionals, and other experts in affordable housing about finding a new administrative agent. Two names kept coming up: CGP&H and Central Jersey Housing Resource Center. In November of 2019, the township issued an RFP, a request for proposal, to solicit proposals to serve as our affordable housing administrative agent. Sharon Clark from Central Jersey Housing Resource Center said that due to certain constraints, her organization did not have the capacity to take us on and asked to be withdrawn from consideration. CGP&H was the sole responder to our RFP. Township staff then engaged CGP&H in interviews. Our staff did research and spoke with other towns where CGP&H serves as the affordable housing agent. All the comments about CGP&H were glowingly positive. Our attorney then engaged with CGP&H on contract negotiations. In 2020, that was in this year, Ms. DeSico reminded the BHHC board of her desire to retire and that 2020 would be her last year. 2020 also coincides with the expiration of BHHC's contract term with Bedminster that ends on December 31st, 2020. When the contract terms with CGP&H were concluded, the resolution was presented to the Township Committee for a vote, and that occurred at our last meeting when CGP&H was approved to take over on January 1, 2021. Despite rumors, CGP&H is not going to bring Section 8 housing to Bedminster. Prioritization for affordable housing remains with local residents. CGP&H is staffed with affordable housing experts and advocates. The representative assigned to manage the Bedminster team, the Bedminster Affordable Housing Program, is Heather Mahaly, who was the Director of Plan Administration for COA for 7 years. She was the go-to person for all the towns, for all the administrative agents across the state who are asking questions about the state requirements and the process for marketing and investment affordable housing funds. We are lucky to have her as our new administrative agent, or at least the liaison with Bedminster Township. Transitioning to CGP&H is an opportunity for upgrading the affordable housing program and how it operates. Ms. Sullivan, in a few seconds, I'm going to ask Ms. Sullivan to take us through the website, to show the active marketing, to show their full service team, which will report directly not only to the township, but also to the Affordable Housing Advisory Committee, which will function very similarly to the BHHC board without having the financial obligations of paying and authorizing salaries and insurance and auditors and all the other stuff that comes with actually running a nonprofit corporation. Judy, if you could real quickly, if you could take us to the CGP&H website. This will be on shared screen.
Yes. Let me go to. Sorry. This is the CGP&H home screen, which
We might have to go to,
you're not seeing it?
I'm not seeing it here.
Okay, wait a minute. Hold on.
Huh?
Okay, one. Can you see, can you get it?
You know what? I think it may have bumped, did it bump you out? Tell you what. You know what, Judy, let me,
All right. let me
because
go
you and
to
I are
the-
both on the same login, let me get out.
I think it took me out again.
Okay, why don't you try it now?
No?
No?
Maybe because I'm the host. I don't know. I'm not, I don't know what's happening. Can you share on yours?
Let me see. I just exited. Let me get back in.
All right, wait a minute. I think I got it. Can you see it now?
I can see you now, Judy.
Okay.
Sorry. Forgot to hit a button.
Okay, so Judy, why don't you take us through their website?
Okay, so this is the main screen for CGP&H, their home screen. And when you get on, there's a number of options. Here's go to this screen and you can see where you can see their staff. There's information about the company, information about their location, and then information about all their various employees and what their background is and their position with the company. You can see that. There's also a button at the top for the affordable housing page, which you can go to and see all the different opportunities and all things they have to offer.
And so just for their overview of services right there. So comprehensive affordable housing services provided by CGP&H include affirmative marketing, income qualifying applicants, foreclosure prevention enforcement activities, pricing of affordable units, market to affordable programs, accessory apartment programs, affordability assistance programs, co-op monitoring, affordable housing ordinances, operating manuals, and deed restrictions. So a lot of this is directly relevant to the services that we'll be asking, as well as there's another section they have about grant services and home improvement program. You may see it on the top of the page. Certainly we know that home improvement is an issue of particular import to our residents in the affordable neighborhoods and the opportunity to take advantage of grants. We are dealing with experts in this area, and I think these are services that many of our residents will be able to take advantage of. Now, they have a separate website called affordablehomesnewjersey.com, and Judy has it up on the screen right
Okay,
now.
I'm sorry.
Oh, we just lost it. There it is.
Right, so the affordablehomesnewjersey.com.
And so if folks are interested in see what they do and how their marketing is and how they market developments and
Take mine
units,
down.
you can click on that and see how they're set up. And so Judy, I think we can go back to regular screen. And for those residents who are lamenting the loss of BHHC, for many of you, BHHC was Sharon DeSico, and she is leaving. She pushed her retirement date out a year from the end of 2019 to the end of 2020. That retirement date, once again, corresponds to the end of the BHHC contract. So it's changing. The one person who's been the face of BHHC for several, I don't know, maybe 20 years,
Decades.
longer than that?
Know about that?
About that? So it's changing. So things are going to change. We have a contract that is expiring. And yes, despite some words to the contrary, that it was never intended that BHHC would not be the affordable housing administrative agent, that's not necessarily true, because the 1997 consent order between the town and some of the affordable housing plaintiffs actually contemplated that BHHC, there would be a time that they would not be the administrative agent, and had a mechanism in place for that eventuality. For those lamenting the loss of a liaison between the neighborhoods and the administrative agent, that role will be served by the new Affordable Housing Advisory Committee, once again specified in that 1997 consent order. And it certainly contemplated a time when BHHC would no longer serve in the role as the town's administrative agent. For November and December 2020, BHHC will continue to serve as Bedminster's affordable housing agent. But we will begin the transition to CGP&H, and we will transition to the new Affordable Housing Advisory Committee. And Renee just told me that one resident has already been appointed the delegate from her association. I've asked Judy Sullivan and John Bellardo to draft a letter to the neighborhood associations and the master associations so that they can select their representatives to the Affordable Housing Advisory Committee so that it can be ready to start business in January 2021. CGP&H will save money for the Bedminster Affordable Housing Program. For the past several years, the operation of BHHC was depleting money from the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. BHHC's yearly operating budget is about $200,000. 2019, its actual budget was $201,984, and that was with a net operating loss of $98,988. In 2018, their operating budget was $182,706 with a net loss of $110,958. The majority of the expenses are tied to salaries. Right now, BHHC is doing only a fraction of the transactions that it had been doing in prior years, maybe a dozen, maybe a little over a dozen a year. That's not an expense or program that is truly sustainable at those expenses. Right now, the majority of Parkside and Cortland are now out of affordability controls. And in coming years, Timberbrook and Village Green will lose more than 50% of their units from the affordability controls. So that's less and less units going through the affordability controls from restricted unit to new restricted unit. By saving money for the affordable housing program, it allows the town and the Affordable Housing Advisory Committee to deploy more funds to the units and spend less on the salaries and the administrative expenses. Affordability is not an issue that is going away. We have one settlement agreement with Fair Share Housing, and in 2025, we'll be entering a new round for COA obligations, and we don't know what will happen in 2025. We may be facing more demands. Maybe we get credit for everything that has come before us. Maybe we lose credit for those units that are no longer in the affordability program. We don't know. And some of the experts that we've all talked to say they don't know. But we do know that affordable housing works here in Bedminster, and folks don't like changes, but these changes are due. It is our obligation to do what is best for Bedminster residents, and now is the time for the upgrade. CJP&H is more cost-effective, allows more money to be redirected to the affordable housing neighborhoods, and to have the program operating at greater efficiency. I hope that most folks who are attending tonight's meeting know that two of our township committee members have lived in affordable housing and can talk about their experience. Gina Fernandez and Renee Moreski. And let me start with Gina. If Gina's still on mute?
No, I'm unmuted, ma'am.
So Gina, do you mind talking about your buy and sell, and then your buy and sell in the process?
Sure. So can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So I resided in affordable housing for 6 years, and I've actually achieved successful home ownership only because of affordable housing. And I'm a huge proponent of affordable housing. And I want nothing but the best for our current and future affordable housing residents. So a little bit about my experience. I was a 26-year-old single mom. I was working for a nonprofit, renting and living paycheck to paycheck. And my brother, who previously resided in Cortland, told me to look into the affordable housing program in Bedminster. And after digging a lot to find information, I contacted Mr. Schicko and was given an application. So I returned my application just like everyone else in affordable housing with my last 3 years tax returns, my bank statements, both showing that all the money I had saved was from what they call an earned income credit, which is money you receive back from your taxes from the federal government when you make a low amount of money. And I had to return it with a mortgage pre-approval letter that I had gotten from Quicken Loans for an FHA loan. So I was contacted and I was told I qualified for a low-income unit and would be put on a list. So after months of not hearing anything, my brother asked me about it, and he said, "No, Gina, you have to call every week or you're not going to hear back from anyone." That's the reputation that our affordable housing program had at that time. So I politely did that for 6 weeks straight, and then I was finally told there was a unit available. Surprise. I came in, I signed a contract, and I was never told about any sort of down payment assistance program, even though BHHC has an allotment of money for this purpose for people like us. And I clearly qualified as all the money I had saved was from earned income credit. I was never informed in any way. So now I had a signed contract, a pre-approval letter for an FHA loan through Quicken Loans, and was told I'd need a mortgage commitment in 45 days or the contract would be void. Okay. So having seen the pre-approval letter, no one ever told me that you can't get a loan for a deed restricted unit with Quicken Loans. You can't get an FHA loan for a deed restricted unit at that time. And I didn't even know what a deed restricted unit meant. And no one informed me that there were local banks that offer specifically loans for low income families at a low rate. So 42 days went by and I could not get a mortgage commitment. And I told Mrs. Schicko, and she said the contract would then be void. So I thought at that time I'd be renting forever. Luckily, a friend of mine told me about low income loans at one of our local banks in the hills, and they expedited everything and they gave me a mortgage commitment in 2 days. There's an enormous amount of lack of information that should have been provided, to say the least. And for our current residents and our future residents of affordable housing, I'm hopeful that a new agency will close those gaps and better assist and inform buyers. Fast forward 3 years, I was now married and with 2 children, and I re-qualified, but this time for a 3-bedroom unit in moderate income housing. And I was told there were no units available, but I would be put on a list again. So I was driving into Parkside one night and after work, and I saw a flyer on a mailbox for a 3-bedroom unit, which I'm assuming at that time, or even now, you're not allowed to do, but that's what was there. And it was actually my friend Natalie who was selling her unit. And she was told there was no one on the list. And that's why she put flyers out. So the lack of record keeping and inefficiency in the current program that I dealt with needs to be improved. I think the first time home buying process is challenging and complicated for anyone, and especially when it comes to a deed restricted unit. Now, can you even imagine if English wasn't your first language? There's a huge portion of residents in our affordable housing that don't speak English as their first language. And we know that more recently from our quarantine food pantry that that is currently how the situation is. Right now, I have friends and family that live in Cortland and Parkside that have achieved home ownership only because I personally helped them navigate the complicated process, because I know what it was like to go through it, and it wasn't easy. We need to grow and evolve our affordable housing program as our town continues to evolve and be inclusive of all of our residents that reside in our affordable housing units. And we need a high quality affordable housing program, and we need to do better.
Thank you, Gina.
Mm-hmm.
Ruth?
Thank you, Mayor. Gina, my story isn't half as long as yours. Mine was much more simple, but I was single, had moved back into town, and as most of you know, Basking Ridge back in 1997 didn't really have single family homes. So starting a second career, there was no way I was going to be able to live there. But it's funny, Gina, you said your brother recommended you. My sister had had a place in Village Green when she got out of college. So she recommended to me that I look over here, and I looked in Parkside as you did, and filled out all the paperwork, and fortunately
my family had some experience with the Chase Bank, so I was able to get a regular loan, fairly high interest, but I got my loan paperwork so that I could submit my paperwork to BHHC. All I remember is getting a little list of locations that I could choose from. And being single with no children, I could get either the one bedroom, one bathroom, or a studio. And the studio made me claustrophobic walking in, so I was lucky enough that there was a good one bedroom, one bathroom. So I snatched that up. And a friend of mine from high school, again, I'm very lucky. He is a lawyer in Bernardsville, so he had done a lot of these kinds of transactions already. So I took all the information and just went to his office. But I can't imagine the trouble you would have if you didn't have the kind of resources that I had in my family. It would be very difficult. And then selling on the other side, BHHC didn't do much either. I just told them that I was leaving and they gave my number to someone. And it took a little while because at the time it was early 2000s. There weren't very many people on the list. So there wasn't a lot of activity. I don't know how much work she had to do, but it was very simple. But like you, I had a good start with living in this town. Now I live in Crestmont. So I'm very grateful that I was able to start my home buying process in the hills. Very happy to be here. And it is near and dear to my heart to keep these places, choking up, to keep the program going because it is really very important. And I am very happy to have the new people in place because like Gina said, I was unaware of the programs that were available with the different kind of assistance. Unfortunately, I didn't need any, but if I had known, I might have made myself available to, or made those available to me. But with the new programs and the new people, I think we're going to do a lot better for our residents and our future residents.
Thank you. And sorry for, sorry for having you tear up, Renee. Judy, if you could just check getting some emails. Some folks are still trying to log in.
I'm not seeing anybody trying to get in. Let me.
Yeah, it's showing up as the host has another meeting in progress.
All I can tell them is,
There's no one in the queue.
yeah, I don't have no one, nobody's in the queue.
Judy, is there a way to instruct them how to re-enter the queue? Is it just clicking on the link or do they need to do something else? Because I've been getting the same pings.
See if, yeah, I don't even have.
Yeah, I wonder if there's any chance that folks are using an old login and not for tonight's meeting. Oops.
Yeah, one is just for that. And one is for the Zoom meeting this, so. Unless I can forward an email to someone again.
Yeah, if you could forward it to that one email that we both received.
Or Judy, if you can text me the link, I can send it to a couple of folks who have pinged me.
So maybe Robin, if I forward it to you? You can log into this meeting and send him the invitation. Here's another one. I sent you 3. Oh, here's one more.
And Larry, actually up in Parkside is where I first got a taste of running for office. I ran for the board, did not win, but kept going and got on my Crestmont board.
Okay, we have 5 invitations forthcoming.
Okay, good.
Yeah, Judy, people are telling me it's pointing to a meeting that was on the 14th at 9 a.m.
Okay, they're gonna get new.
Great, thank you.
Sending out so many links this morning, I might have clicked on the wrong one. I apologize. My fault. So we're sending new ones. I just got all their emails. Okay.
Do you have Michelle on that list?
Yes.
Great.
So Judy, you were able to let those other 5 people in?
So we're sending them an invitation. Raman's gonna
Okay.
send it because I don't have my email on this computer. So she has to send them from her email. Technology, my mistake. Yeah.
Hey, Judy, I just texted you. Somebody else is interested in getting in.
Okay, texting might be difficult.
Yeah, okay. Woman's name is Susie.
Yeah, I got her already.
Got it. Good, thank you.
Robin's gonna send them an invitation from the main office. So they'll be getting an invitation from Robin Ray.
Okay, did you get any more coming through?
Not yet.
All right. So hope folks just bear with us.
Must have clicked the wrong link when some of the ones I was sending out today, and I apologize. An old link from the 14th. So. I hit everybody. Okay.
Okay.
Oh, here we go. Coming in. Thank you. Okay. One person came in.
Okay.
I don't see any of the others yet. Thanks, Robin.
I see Michelle connecting.
She was the last one I sent.
She was the last one.
There's another person. Okay, they're both in.
Okay, any more in queue?
Those are the only two.
Okay,
So,
so
there were 3 others sent, so.
there appears to have been some old Zoom links that went out, which we believe is the case, but that has since been corrected. And Judy Sullivan and Robin have emailed the correct links out to the 5 that were requesting access.
3 of them have come in.
3 of them are already in. So what you may have missed in the last 45 minutes was a recitation of the timing, how we came to the decision to move forward with CGP&H as the BHHC contract was expiring and Sharon DeSico is retiring, and this is Sharon staying on for an extra year so that we can transition to a new administrative agent. And before we head back to public comment, I want to hit some of the highlights that we talked about, which is first and foremost, unit owners will continue to pay the 20% recapture fee as provided in the master deeds. Unit owners will not be charged 3% of the sale price for the sale of a restricted unit. That CGP&H fee is paid by the town from the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. Owners of units that have aged out of the restriction controls only owe the 20% recapture fee and do not owe anything further to Bedminster, BHHC, or CGP&H. The Bedminster Affordable Housing Program will remain under the oversight of community participation through the Bedminster, well, soon to be created, Bedminster Affordable Housing Advisory Committee. And for those also who have just joined, Committeewoman Fernandez and Committeewoman Moreski discussed their experience in affordable housing, and I think we have a commitment and a reiteration of the township's commitment to the affordable housing program and making sure that it remains viable and an important element for individuals, but also an important element of the Bedminster community. So with that, Ms. Sullivan, we will open up public comment. Once again, public comment on issues related to Black River Road. We will discuss later on under new discussion, under new items. So if you are looking to make a comment, Ms. Sullivan, what's the process?
There's down at the bottom, there's a little icon it's a happy face with a plus next to it. It says reactions, the bottom of your screen. If you click on that, you can raise your hand or put a thumbs up and we know you want to speak and we'll then unmute you to do so. Okay, I see Michelle Hoffman. First one I see, so I'm clicking on Michelle Hoffman.
Hi,
Hey, Michelle.
Hi,
can you
Michelle.
hear me?
Yeah.
All
Yes.
right. So I have a list of questions. I'm just going to go through them real quick. This is all regarding the change from BHHC to CGPNH. I know you said that the 3% will be paid by Bedminster Township. Will we get that in writing? Because the agreement says it's paid by the homeowner with the option for Bedminster to pay for that. Also, another question I had is, you talk about this advisory board. How will that advisory board be determined? I know currently the BHHC consists of representatives from the 4 affordable housing developments, as well as the master associations and representatives from the township. So I'm just wondering how that's going to be determined. Will CPG&H have realtors that will show the units, and will they be flexible on their schedules as far as like if they're available weeknights or weekends? Are the market units still going to be under the control of the CGP&H? Like, how is that going to impact us at all, if at all? And what else did I have here? I know Colin was quoted in the Bernard's News is saying that that CPG&H would provide more comprehensive service, mentioning there were internal disputes and rival factions and stacking board seats. I'm not sure where that information came from because I hadn't heard anything about that. I'm also wondering what is going to happen to the 1.5 million that the BHHC currently sits on. This money is not been used for communities. I don't know what happens to this money. I know I think some of it should go back to the communities. I know my community got a small grant probably about 5 years ago for a stair project we were working on, but not nearly what's in there now. I also want to know, I know that there was a lawsuit against Mr. Agnetuk about the recapture fees. It's my understanding that the BHHC committee did not vote on that and approve the lawsuit. And I also want to know who paid for that lawsuit, because I understand that the cost of it was about 30 or 40,000. Did that come out of BHHC funds?
Okay, Michelle, you did miss a fair amount of the earlier discussion where a lot of these topics were raised. So I've got your notes written down here, but since we've got a lot of other folks, let's get all the questions out front.
Oh, and one more question I wanted to ask you, if I can. And this pertains to the meeting that we had back in April 2017 when everyone was in an uproar over the recapture fee. You had stated at that time that you were going to speak to the tax assessor about giving people a 20% break on their taxes because they had to pay back that 20%. Whatever happened with that? We never heard back on that either.
Okay. So I've got your questions written down. Judy, who's next?
Again, if you want to make a comment or ask a question, you do need to raise your hand or put a thumbs up. I'm not seeing anybody. Again, you have to go to the bottom. Okay, I see one from Barbara Hart. Barbara?
Hi, I was just wondering what really was the advantage for homeowners to go into fair market if we're going to be paying the 20% recapture fee. We're paying the full amount of taxes to the township, and it just seems unfair that 20% is still being taken when we're having to pay for full amount of taxes. We're not getting any breaks, and there's a trust fund with $1.5 million in it. What happens to that? I mean, we're not rich. If we do end up having to, sell and go somewhere else, we put everything into our places, and the whole advantage of going fair market was to get, as much money back into our pockets as possible.
Okay, we got that question down.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Okay, anyone else?
Oh, and I also wanted to say that this is supposed to be a nonprofit venture. So taking 20% from people who are, at a lower salary, to me doesn't make sense. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Okay, and then I see Jennifer.
I just wanted some clarification on the information that there's $175, I guess, fee, it seems like, for refinance. I just wanted a better understanding of what that is supposed to be for. I'm not sure if I'm going to refinance through my private bank, why I would have to pay $175.
Okay, we've got that question.
Thanks.
Anybody else? Anyone else? Okay, I don't see anyone else, Mayor.
Okay, so let's get through the questions, and I think we've got a fair amount of questions from Michelle. So confirmation that the 3% fee will be paid by the township. Yes, I did discuss that in the opening comments, that the 3% fee will be paid by the township. And we've asked Ms. Bellardo if it's appropriate to put a resolution or some other writing cementing that for the term of CGP&H's contract, which is a one-year contract. So yes, the 3% fee will be paid from the Affordable Housing Trust Fund, not by the unit owners. The question as to how the Affordable Housing Advisory Committee is to be formed, that is actually laid out in detail in the 1997 consent order, and similar to BHHC, it involves representatives from the neighborhood associations, it involves representatives from the master associations, and it involves 4 township committee representatives, 2 of which are township committee members and 2 of which are selected by the township committee itself. So it is very close to the way BHHC is supposed to be constituted. The 1997 consent order further requires that all representatives who are part of the Affordable Housing Advisory Committee must be residents of Bedminster. So there will be no assigning someone who's outside of the association or does not live in the association or is an employee of the association but does not live there. Under the 1997 consent order, all members are to be residents. Realtors. So we went through, Michelle, you weren't there, but we did go through the website for CGP&H, and they do have a host of realtors on there. I believe the contract with CGP&H talks about the roles that they will play and talks about certain, let's see, I have the contract here. 10 closings. They will not be marketing specifically, so there will not necessarily be, not in the normal course, someone from CGP&H showing the individual unit. But as we've laid out with both with Gina's experience and with Renee's experience, they were not seeing BHHC doing that task either. So what they will be doing is they will be doing more aggressive affirmative marketing through their website. And just once again, as Gina and Renee relayed their experience of finding the availability of units through CGP&H is a heck of a lot easier than they were currently seeing it. Question about market units. Will CGP&H have any direct control over units that have aged out of affordability controls and into market units? The answer is no. The only requirement that's implied or imposed on those market units is what's imposed under the master deed, which is the 20% recapture fee after, at the first post-control transaction. That's in the master deed. There's no other affordability controls that would run through CGP&H for those market units. The Egnatuck lawsuit, once again, a whole lot of misinformation out there about the Egnatuck lawsuit. The BHHC attorney was directed to get a declaratory judgment by the BHHC board. That was, I think there was, Renee, that was one dissenting vote against that, and the rest of the BHHC board directed that declaratory judgment to proceed. The BHHC attorney chose not to proceed with the declaratory judgment, but decided that he had an entire case in controversy, or he actually had a case in controversy when Mr. Egnatuck tried to negotiate with BHHC on some alternative arrangement instead of paying the 20% recapture fee. The attorney at the time thought that was an opportunity. And so on his own, or certainly on the law firm's own, they proceeded with a different lawsuit than what had been authorized by BHHC board. And that actually is the subject of a claim that BHHC is proceeding against the attorney. That matter is proceeding, and BHHC will continue to prosecute that lawsuit for the pendency of its time as administrative agent. And actually some more that may be discussed as we proceed with the meeting we get to report committees. The 20% recapture fee. Yes, the 20% recapture fee still applies. It is in the master deed. This also gets to Barbara Hart's question. So what's the benefit of going to market rate? If you're going to pay now your market rate, you now have a unit that can be sold at market rate. So the benefit is that you get an 80% windfall from the restricted period, from the restricted value to the unrestricted value. So there's that 80% windfall that does accrue to the unit owners. So 20% essentially is for having had the experience and having had the fortune of being in Bedminster with affordable housing units. Unit owners were provided the opportunity to stay in controls and to keep those units restricted. And not very many people did take advantage of that opportunity to keep the controls in place, but some did. But that honestly has to be on a case-by-case basis. The person has to make the decision that's most appropriate for them. If they're looking to sell a unit and they want to get that 80% windfall, certainly within their rights to do so. It's in the master deed. If they want to keep it in affordability controls and pay the lower taxes, that's an opportunity. We've discussed that with our attorney, whether folks could opt back into the program. Our attorney was under the impression that they certainly could. So if lower taxes is a driver versus paying the market rate taxes, that is an opportunity that is out there. Michelle also mentioned that during the let's see, and here's the information session. It was April 24th, 2019. So we had about 50 to 60 people in town hall for a very robust discussion about the indication that BHHC had originally given that there was no recapture fee owed. And the letters that BHHC and their attorneys had sent out saying there was no recapture fee after the units aged out, which was then followed by a year and a half later by a half-hearted mea culpa from the attorney and from BHHC board that, yes, in fact, they did not look at one provision of the master deed where it says it continues. So at that meeting, I said I would ask the tax assessor to go call Trenton to see if that delta, once again, this is the recapture fee is the delta. It's not on the total sale price, but it's on the delta of what the seller paid for it in restriction and what they would realize at the sale of a market rate. So that delta is the is what would be subject to that 20% recapture fee. You're not recapturing the entire value, but only the increase in value. So I remember saying at the time going, you know, if these folks had been living in a unit that might have been 150,000 and now it's going to be valued at 300,000 or 250,000, you know, they're going to be taxed on what it can be sold at. And I agree that that does not seem right, that if 20% of that is owed back to the affordable housing program, should that really be factored into their assessment? So I did speak with Ed Kerwin. Ed Kerwin, it took a very long time for Ed to hear back from folks in Department of Taxation down in Trenton. And the answer that came back was a very simple, well, our policy, and it's not our policy, but the way tax assessments work is that they assess you on the sale price or what it will sell at, and that there's no consideration for the 20% that may be owed back to the municipality or the municipality's affordable housing program. I have asked Mr. Kerwin to continue that because I was not satisfied with that answer. And I, as of yet, do not have any further clarification from Mr. Kerwin on that. Once again, to Ms. Hart's question about the benefit of going market rate and what do we need that money for? Well, the money should be deployed and redeployed back to the affordable housing program, just as it was mentioned earlier, that there's discretionary funds, not just to assist in dues assistance for individual unit owners or down payment assistance for those who are coming to buy affordable housing, or mortgage assistance for those that might be in need, right? So those are the ability to use those funds directly to individuals. But there are also discretionary programs that BHHC has controlled, and that largely the Affordable Housing Advisory Committee will give recommendations on how those discretionary funds should be deployed in the future. And yes, there's a lot of money that has not been deployed. And I think it is fully appropriate that those funds be activated. And in fact, I think one of the things that we will see with CGP&H is that it's not just a marketing program, but that there's a staff there that's available to spread the word out, not just to the individual unit owners, but also to the associations, that these funds are available. If there's a project, if there's something that is appropriate, send word back to either the Affordable Housing Advisory Committee once it's formed, or to the CGP&H rep, and that will be discussed at the Affordable Housing Advisory Committee, because I do think it is appropriate. And that last question, Jennifer was asking about the $175 fee for refinance. I was under the impression that BHHC currently does charge a fee for refinancing, and I believe the refinancing is for the affordable housing agent to fill the forms out so that when you're going to the bank, that, let's see, I'm just trying to pull that specific language out, to process the request for subordination, so that when the loan is being whether it's, well, they reference a home equity loan, but I assume that could also be for the refinancing, is that there's forms to be filled out that the CGP&H attorneys have to prepare, have to refile, and have to coordinate with the bank. So those fees would be part of that. I do note that if you look at the end of that paragraph that's under ownership fees, if Bedminster prefers not to pass on any fees to the owner, all those fees described in that section can be paid by the township instead. So that's certainly something that the township can waive. We certainly have agreed to waive the 3% fee owed to CGP&H since they're already paying your recapture fee. If you're paying a recapture fee on your delta from when you bought to when you sold, and that goes for even if you're in restriction. So your restricted purchase price and your restricted sale price, that delta, that's the recapture fee. The 20% on that recapture fee, in most instances, is going to be adequate to pay the 3% of total sales price.
I have a question here.
You have a question?
From another person. This is from former Mayor Steve Parker. I'm going to unmute him.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to address some things, make some comments, because yes, I used to sit on the BHHC back when I was sitting on your dais there several years ago, and Ms. Hoffman and Ms. Hart made some interesting comments that I think absolutely need to be addressed. The first day I started campaigning, my first campaign, I knocked on doors in Parkside, and the first guy that answered my door asked me the question, "What are you guys going to do about the $1.5 million that the town is sitting on?" is what he said. And I thought that was a great question, and it was important. And I know I spent the next 6 years that I participated in the BHHC trying to make sure that the monies that we had there were used properly to help the affordable neighborhoods. It's not just a benefit to the people within the affordable neighborhoods that they are kept up well. It's important to every Bedminster resident that those neighborhoods are neighborhoods that don't go fallow, that don't get out of hand, that are neighborhoods we're all proud to live in, as we are. I will say in the 6 years I sat on BHHC, I was frustrated because as we tried to disperse that money responsibly, mostly in the idea of no interest loans, seed money that would be paid back so that there would always be money in perpetuity to help those neighborhoods finance things, get money up front, take care of capital projects. It was very difficult to get that board, and Mr. Hartman, who's on the line, was one of the good guys that got this, but he wasn't in the majority, to go along with that. And I was very frustrated over 6 years on the BHHC trying to get that money spent in a proper, responsible way that was going to help those neighborhoods. So a question that I don't think has been asked is, but I've seen it online, is, oh, why are we disbanding the current BHHC? They're good people. And they are good people, but in my opinion, when I sat there, they were not as effective as they could have been in answering the needs of those communities. And that's in answer to Michelle and Barbara's question, what are we doing with the money? I would say, I wish BHHC had done more in a more responsible manner, and I'm hoping that this new beginning will make that happen. And I thank the Township Committee for doing the responsible thing, and I think that this will be a boon to the affordable housing units in all of Bedminster.
Thank you, Steve. So it's not just spending the money on the existing units, but we also have to make, and for the existing owners, but there's also an affordable housing program that's never going to go away. And it should be in perpetuity. As long as there's a need for affordable housing, and there certainly seems to be so, and it's not only mandated by court decisions and the Federal Fair Housing Act, we need to make sure that the money that comes back in through the recapture fee is redeployed for affordable housing today and for affordable housing needs in the future, because it is not going away. And I think, once again, I think a lot of people have heard me talk over the years about activating our programs, and that could be from the parks, the hike and bike trail, You know, even the farmer's market is an example of that, but also activating what we have already, which is the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. And has it been activated appropriately? And I think what we heard from Steve is that there's been problems getting that money out and getting it out in a sage manner. And hopefully with some new blood coming in from CGP&H, giving us some ideas about what other towns are doing and what how some of the grants that CGP&H can tap into. So perhaps an expenditure from the Affordable Housing Trust Fund can actually be multiplied by taking advantage of grants that CGP&H, and the G in CGP&H stands for grants, because they actually, that's one of their expertise, is pursuing grant monies. And once again, go to their website and you'll see some of the programs that they do operate, including improvements. So if there's no other questions,
I don't see any.
okay. So thank you all. Once again, we will be talking to Mr. Bilardo if it's appropriate to do a resolution to once again reconfirm that the 3% fee will be paid out of the Affordable Housing Trust Fund and not by the unit owners. We will certainly do so, but that was in our meeting minutes. That was in the statement we put on the website. And I just want to make sure to clarify that. And for any misinformation that may be spread out there, the answer is the 3% is not additive. You're still with the 20% recapture fee. That's the only difference. We look forward to working with CGP&H, and we look forward to working with the Bedminster Affordable Housing Advisory Committee. So please stay tuned, which brings us to monthly report discussion by subcommittee chairs. Committeeman Stevenson. You're muted.
Thank you. Yep. No, thank you, Mayor. Good evening, everybody. Good to see everybody out there in virtual land. Mayor, thank you for the cogent analysis and synopsis of that topic. It's very important. Obviously, a lot of folks interested, and I thought that was very helpful. For my subcommittee report for historic preservation, we had a meeting last week. Had several folks come through with applications. A couple of the commercial properties that are going through the process and the of land use and or additions and the like. The project where the old country picnic, is located. The architectural and aesthetics really was just blew the committee away. They're very impressed with what they did there. Excited about what that site's going to look like. I think there were some questions that we had about some parking, because it's going to be, it's hard to visualize it with the hill and embankment there, but we're excited about that. Pluckerman Inn's looking to use a little bit more of their outside space on a more permanent basis, so that was good to see. And then on the flip side of the coin, we had our folks over at Pluckerman Park come in about their paint. And I have to tell you, it was a little bit disappointing to see how that went down. As you know, there was that one coat of paint that went up that was kind of surprised everybody. So we asked them to come in, and what we had was an application to approve a color of gray for two of the several structures there. And the owner's rep really claimed to not understand why, the point of being called into the committee or the commission. So that was disappointing. But what we did do is agree to come to an agreement on basically an overall palette of colors, so they don't have to keep coming back to us each time. But the expectation is that the yellow paint that was used there will be undone, and will give them some directive going forward. For DPW, not a ton. The lighting fixtures for the hills was approved by Paul earlier today, so I'll get that communicated over to the Hills Master Associations. Just wanted to also let you know that we did take a look at the violations window from the last meeting. Definitely something that we could do at minimal cost, but we'd like to just sort of, because we're still virtual, we want to push that into a more global picture, or a more global discussion, I should say, about our facilities, which will happen later this year, or maybe early next year. And lastly, John is going to go forward with trying to fill an open spot. And that's all I've got.
Okay, thank you. So what was the reaction with the, instead of the paint color, bringing in the can of paint? Did they, at the end, understand the distinction between bringing in the can of paint and showing a can of paint? I presume that was by Zoom.
Yeah, it was, again, Mayor, it was disappointing. Let's say, I'm trying to choose my words carefully here. It was disappointing. We've had a little bit of a history with this particular site. Not crazy about the maintenance, the upkeep, and everybody agrees it could use a fresh coat of paint. And the idea was that you need to come and tell us what you're painting, and somehow, some way, the message received and sent back to us was, can you approve this great color of gray for 2 of our 15, 20 buildings there? So the good part was, I think, that the owner's rep agreed that the yellow was a little bit electric and probably was not conducive to the area. So I think there was an agreement there that would change. So that's good. But like with everything else, I think we're just going to have to move this along with a little bit more oversight, but that's what we'll do.
Okay, thank you, Doug. Committeeman Stevenson, I'm sorry, Committeeman Hickey.
He's so good, you call on him twice. Good evening, all. Couple quick items. Rec. We're having a rec meeting this Wednesday. We'll be discussing the results of the rec survey. We got a tremendous response, as I mentioned last time. About 576 people chimed in. So we'll do the Richard Dawson survey says, and figure out exactly what people are interested in, and use that to inform our budget and our plans for future programs and facilities. The rec committee is also looking to be one of the trunk or treat participants at the Halloween farmers markets. We'll do some planning on that this Wednesday as well. We had a joint rec and EC meeting last week to review a community garden proposal that 2 of our residents brought to the table. There's a lot of enthusiasm for the idea, but also there are a lot of questions. I think the biggest question we have is, where do you put it? The big go-do out of that meeting was identifying a piece of public land that could potentially be suitable, as well as a water source for the irrigation. Obviously, once we figure that out, then we'll have to drill down on the financial case, the insurance and liability issues, some of the rules and restrictions, et cetera. That being said, these are not insurmountable hurdles. And I think everyone left the meeting recognizing the challenges, but also excited by the opportunity. And if I can, I'd like to turn it over to Renee now, because as it was a joint meeting with EC, she may have some additional observations. So Renee, take the floor.
Thanks, Colin. Everybody knows, if you've been listening to my voice for the last couple of years, as chairman of EC, I was excited to do things with pollinators. So we had programs with bats and butterflies and bees. And part of the proposal for the Bedminster Gardens is to put in a pollinator garden. So I think that'll be fun. Another aspect that the ladies brought in was education. So it'll be a good place for our Bedminster students to learn how to be gardeners, how to be good stewards of the land. And I'm just excited that they want to be outside and sharing Bedminster with other Bedminster residents. And they happen to be close neighbors of mine, so I'm very proud of them.
Colin, anything further on subcommittee reports?
No, Board of Health is canceled for this month, so nothing new. So thank you so much, Mayor.
But speaking of Board of Health, just a quick little detour to the flu clinic.
Mayor, are you going to speak to that, or do you want me to?
If you want to speak to it, I mean, Judy, and I know Robin went and actually checked it out.
And my wife and I were fortunate enough to get flu shots. I know it was limited given the number of flu vaccines that the county was issued, but I know we were at capacity. I don't have the final count. I don't know if Judy or Robin may have that.
35, we had 15 no-shows.
Oh, we had 15 no-shows? So for those who don't know, the Somerset County Health Department allocated 50 flu shots to Bedminster for the drive-through flu clinic. Required pre-registration. And pre-registration went very quickly. So it's disappointing to find out that there were 15 no-shows, because those 15 no-shows could have been applied to other residents. So we will, Colin, if you could just through Board of Health, continue to follow up with the county to see if there's any chance of, if later on in the flu season, if we can't do that again, if they still, if
Will
they
do.
allocated more the state or the feds. Back to Committeewoman Moreski.
So Colin stole my thunder with the gardens. The only other thing with EC is that the lecture that we were going to have on the spotted lanternfly that was scheduled for November 4th has gotten bumped due to a conflict. So that's going to go to the first meeting in December. I believe that's December 2nd of the EC, and that will be probably a Zoom meeting. I assume all rules are still on. We'll talk a little bit later in the program about the traffic
Okay.
committee, and then I will be bumping the BHHC rest of that to you. Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you.
And that's all I have.
Okay, so back to the community organic garden, and the concept is, I believe the way it's presented, that it would be an organic garden. So where does this stand? Is it for both for rec and environmental to work with township staff to identify municipal property that is not otherwise constrained? Or is there something that the two women who made the proposal, do they have anything to change to that proposal to make it fit? So
I can speak to that.
okay, so Robin, you're not on mic, so if you could get over to a microphone. So the next voice you'll be hearing is Robin Ray, who is our Recreation Director.
So how we left it was the Environmental Commission and Recreation Committee decided that they would make their findings regarding the presentation to the Township Committee, and also try to identify some additional township lands that might be suitable. And the two presenters are also going out and looking at other areas themselves and identifying additional plots that might work for this situation.
Okay, great. This is certainly really very interesting and exciting proposal. Clarence Dillon Public Library has a community garden. It's full up.
Right.
You can't get in there.
Waiting list.
There's
for 3
a
years.
waiting list. So this is a very interesting opportunity, and I do want to commend the two residents who came forward with that proposal. Certainly solicited or elicited a robust discussion by both environmental and rec. And so look forward to see where that goes. Committeewoman Fernandez.
Thank you, Mayor. I just have one quick update. There are 50/50 raffle tickets available. They can be purchased every Saturday at the farmers market to benefit the Bedminster charities. As you know, Fall Fest was canceled, and Bedminster Charities supports 7 charities here in Bedminster. And the drawing for the 50/50 raffle will take place on October 31st, Halloween, at the farmers market. So if you're out and about and you have a chance to stop by and buy a raffle ticket to support the Bedminster charities, please do so. And that's all, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. So I will go through my committee, farmers market, just so everyone knows, farmers market, we've extended the farmers market through the second Saturday in December. So it will run straight through October. October 31st was going to be the last day, and that was going to coincide with Fall Fest. Obviously, Fall Fest has been canceled. So we will continue through the month of November and for the first 2 Saturdays in December. Starting in November, the farmers market, instead of 9 to 1 as the operating hours, we will go 10 to 1. As it gets into November, it's getting a little colder, and we're noticing that the crowds are coming in a little bit later, not getting there at 8:45 anymore. They're coming in around 9:30, 9:45. So I think switching to a 10 o'clock start certainly makes it a lot easier on our volunteers and the vendors, but still frequent your local agricultural producers as much as you can. As was mentioned, on October 31st, also at the farmers market, The Fall Fest Committee will be pulling the raffle, the winning raffle for the 50/50. So for those of you who have purchased those raffles, and there's a lot of you, show up on October 31st to claim your win. Land Use Board. So there's an application right now that's pending before the Land Use Board. It's a Board of Adjustment matter, so neither Committeeman Hickey nor I can participate as Township Committee members, but the Zoning Board of Adjustment is hearing an application for the Bedminster shell. So this would essentially convert the Bedminster Tire and Auto to a convenience store with a gas station. So they would adjust the pumps at the property, and the Dunkin' Donuts would be expanded and would become a drive-through. There was about, I think about 80 participants who showed up to that land use board. My understanding is that many of them were not proponents of that application. That matter will be continued, and I believe that there's been some discussion between I believe our engineers and the applicant on what they think are the sensitive points. I believe those points were articulated during that meeting, but that application will continue. The Bedminster Farms application is coming back to the Land Use Board, and that is at the next meeting. And let's see, there's some, also I believe Committeeman Stevenson mentioned the Pluckman Inn, coming in with an application to convert the outside dining to a more permanent situation. So that might involve a little bit of change in landscaping, change in access, both egress and ingress regarding the property. So there's a few applications that are coming down the board. So there's been a very long time where Land Use Board was quiet. Not for the rest of 2020, and does not look like it's going to be quiet for early 2021. Renee, you had mentioned BHHC as one of our subcommittee reports. So last week, last Thursday, Committeewoman Mareski, Judy Sullivan, and John Bellardo and I had a conversation with Megan York, and Heather Mahaly from CGP&H, and this was really sort of just an introduction. We've authorized you to be our administrative agent. Once again, for those who may have missed the earlier conversation, Heather Mahaly, who will be the Bedminster representative from CGP&H, was the Director of Plan Administration at COA, and she was certainly someone that both Judy was familiar with, John Bellardo was familiar with, and most folks who have been involved in affordable housing have called her over the years for advice on implementation of affordable housing programs. So it is good to know that our rep is an expert. She'll be overseeing a staff of 10 people, all of which will be available to Bedminster residents on general inquiries, on assistance in selling a home and certifying buyers, and then a whole closing team to make sure that there is great coordination on the buyers and sellers. We ran over with her how the payment structure will work. They'll collect the recapture fee. The recapture fee will be directed to the Township's Affordable Housing Trust Fund, and then CGP&H will be paid by the Township from the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. So once again, we talked about that a little bit earlier. We'll be working with CGP&H to put together a flyer, both to hand out to the associations as well as to post on the town website. Also, CGP&H will be creating a website for affordable housing in Bedminster itself. So that's something that we'll be working on along with the Affordable Housing Advisory Committee to get that going as soon as possible. Actually, we could probably get that going before they take over. That's certainly my preference. For those folks who want to come in and ask questions about affordable housing, you can still come in and to Town Hall, go to the front desk and certainly ask questions. And then we will make sure those questions get directed to CGP&H for an email or telephone call in response. We also did talk about the transition. And one of the things that we'll be doing in early November, once they're officially on board, is that reps from CGP&H will coming here live and in person to meet with Sharon DeSico in a socially distant, appropriate manner. And they'll be reviewing the processes that BHHC has been implementing over the years, looking at the records, trying to assemble and collate those records into a electronic database that may be a little more user-friendly. Also taking a look at the BHHC forms, and to the extent they are different than the UHAC forms, then making improvements where appropriate, and where the BHHC forms are good, leaving them as is. And so that will be hopefully happening that first week in November. CGP&H is certainly aware that the Bedminster program is different. It is different than what we see elsewhere in the state. And remember that we in Bedminster were really the first community to go through affordable housing. So when the rest of the state is looking at a 95.5 recapture, where 95% of the sale proceeds at the end of the restriction period go back to the affordable housing program, essentially making it financially so that the benefit is to keep those units restricted in perpetuity. So that's 95% that goes back to the municipality or to the affordable housing program. In Bedminster, 80% goes back to the unit owners. So instead of a 95-5 rule, we have a 20-80 rule. So only 20% comes back to the affordable housing program. So we'll be coordinating with CGP&H, and we let everyone know that the Affordable Housing Advisory Committee will be, letters will go out to everyone, and that CGP&H will be reporting to the Affordable Housing Advisory Committee once it is formed. So later that night, continuing on BHHC, we had a BHHC meeting. During that meeting, the new attorney, Sal DeFazio, the new attorney for BHHC, discussed the process of transition and how the funds that BHHC collects are not BHHC own personality, but those are funds that are there for the benefit of the affordable housing program, and that those funds revert back to Bedminster to be redeployed in pursuit of the Affordable Housing Trust initiatives. There was discussion about some litigation, and that frankly, I would rather not go into that, since that is the subject of litigation and should probably not be discussed in public session. But leave it to say that Sal DeFazio takes a very different approach than we had seen with prior counsel. And I think Sal made it perfectly clear that there was no question about the recapture fee, how it was owed and how it was missed in prior discussions. A discussion was held whether there was a recommendation to proceed with any litigation or to stop. And the motion was essentially, did anyone want to change the litigation position? And there was no movement on that at all. So the BHHC will continue with the litigation it has already initiated. There's some comments about BHHC and Sharon DeSico's devotion to the affordable housing program. So I do want to make those comments public, especially those from Mark Hartman and Elizabeth Lackwitz, Deb Taglieri, Renee Moreski. So comments on Sharon's longstanding service to BHHC. And then we really just talked about essentially the coordination and how the new Affordable Housing Advisory Committee would be formed, how it would be populated, and it will look, honestly, it will look a lot like BHHC. Everyone had a copy of the 1997 consent order, so they're aware of the restrictions associated with creating the Affordable Housing Advisory Committee. And for those of you out there, we will be putting together, once again, a letter that will go out to the associations with the instructions of how to select the members of that committee. And that's what I have for my subcommittee reports. Ms. Sullivan, may we please have the administrator's report?
Well, in case you didn't know, we have a presidential election coming up on November 3rd.
No.
Yeah.
Really? In
Yeah.
Bedminster?
Yeah.
Little
And-
Bedminster gets to
and
participate in the
let me
presidential election?
Let me tell you, the clerk's office is humming. Myself and Deputy Clerk Ray and everybody else in the office is handling phone calls from residents who, just need a little assistance, answering some questions. We're happy to answer your questions. The clerk's office here, Robin and I have met, had several meetings with Somerset County Board of Elections and the Somerset County Clerk's Office and the Municipal Clerks Association of Somerset County, going over and over and over all the rules and regulations, because this election is different than any one we've ever had.
This
before.
election is different than anyone we've had
Yeah.
before? Ms. Sullivan, what could you possibly mean by that?
Vote by mail. There will be no in-person voting in Bedminster
So there's-
unless you are blind or deaf.
So that means, so by in-person voting, you mean machine
Machine, on a machine.
voting that we're all used to?
No machine voting unless you are classified as a disabled voter because you're blind or deaf. There will be a machine for those people, one here at Miller Lane and one at the Pluckerman Presbyterian Church. However, we don't anticipate a lot of usage of either of those machines. It will be primarily vote by mail. You can fill out your vote by mail ballot, put it in the mailbox. Or number two, come here to Miller Lane and put it in our secure ballot drop box.
And that drop box is for Somerset County residents.
It is for Somerset County
So it
residents.
is, I was in the office, I was in town hall, and I was there when Judy fielded a call from someone asking about the drop box. Could they use the drop box? The answer was yes, for Somerset County residents. She then called back, said, well, I really live in Morris County. Can I still use it?
Right.
And the answer was
No.
no.
So if you're going, there are 13 drop boxes in Somerset County, mostly at the various municipal buildings. They are for Somerset County residents and voters to use only.
Ms. Sullivan, how often are those boxes picked up?
Every day.
Every day?
Every day between 8 and 8:30, representatives from the Somerset County Board of Elections comes in their vehicle. They have a key, they open the secure drop box, they take out the secure container inside. It is sealed. They place it in their truck and replace it with a new empty container, and that is changed out every day.
Okay, so that gives us vote by mail, use our drop box. What else?
And the third way, if some people indicated they really wanted to hand their vote by mail ballot to a person.
A person?
And the third way would be on election day, you can come to the poll that you're assigned to. And again, only two are open, Pluckerman Church and Bedminster Town Hall. Districts 1, 2, 3, 8, and 9 are here at Town Hall.
So districts 1, 2, 3, 8, and 9
are here at the municipal building. And 4, 5, 6, and 7 are at the Pluckerman Church. If you want to hand your ballot to a person, you can bring your ballot to those locations on election day between 6 a.m. and 8 p.m. and hand it to a poll worker.
So not just any person. Don't hand your ballot to any person.
No.
Hand it to a poll worker.
Yes.
So
Now-
that's vote by mail, the drop box, or show up on election day and hand your ballot to a poll worker. Now, what about those who say, I lost my ballot?
Okay.
I threw mine.
I threw mine out. I thought it was a sample. I don't have my ballot. Judy, what are they supposed to do?
Deputy Ray and myself field that same question probably 30 times a day. We will give them a number, and there's even a link that we can send them in an email that they can click on and ask for a replacement vote by mail ballot. However, time is getting short. And if they don't have time to do that, the option, they can come to the polls on election day and they will be given what's called a provisional ballot, which is a paper ballot that they will then fill out at the polls in writing. It takes about 10, 15 minutes to do so. And those ballots will also be collected on election day for processing by the Board of Elections.
Now, the ballot box itself, once again, the box that's in front of Town Hall that is picked up every day will also be available on election day, but
At 8 o'clock
8 o'clock, that's it.
on election day, Deputy Ray and myself have specific instructions to go out to the drop box. We have a special insert that we put into the slot that locks it. And when we do so, we will be taking two representatives out to witness us do that election evening. We will take a Democratic representative and a Republican representative out with us to the drop box to witness us do that, to close it up.
So vote by mail through election day. So the postmark has to be election.
Up until 8 o'clock, you can put it in the mailbox.
So you can drop it off in
Yep.
the mail until election day, or through election day. The ballot box through election day.
Right?
Bring your ballot with you to the polling place, in the right polling place.
Right?
And you can deliver your ballot to a poll worker.
Right?
If you are handicapped because of blindness or deafness, then is there any forms that need to be filled out before they can use the
So there will
machines?
be a certification form they need to fill out when they come, which is fairly simple. And if through all this, you still have questions or you're not sure what to do, give Robin or myself a call. We're answering calls all day long. Happy to do so. Don't feel you're feeling weird that you don't know the answer. We get, like I say, 30, 40, 50 calls a day from people, so.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
It's certainly a complicated process. This was instituted by Governor Murphy as part of the executive orders and the concerns with COVID exposure. There's a lot of folks who don't necessarily agree with that, but that is the world we are living in. And just as we've gone through vote by mail, the ballot box, you can show up the day of election and hand your ballot to a poll worker. If you've lost it, apply for it now because the time is running short to get a replacement ballot. Otherwise, you will be filling out a provisional ballot at your polling place. Ms. Sullivan, you have more.
Yes, one other quick, I wanted to give a quick report on a matter that concerning our Board of Health. We spoke about this before, Board of Health, but I was speaking with Diane Gibson, the Board of Health Secretary, and our health officer, Himanshi Bhatt. They had a situation over in the Cortland neighborhood. And I wanted to just say the Board of Health was very pleased with the work that the health officer did with this particular case. It was very unfortunate. We had a resident that, let's just say it was a bit of a hoarding situation in the neighborhood. The health officer worked with this individual and had support from both the police department and the animal control officer to assist her with helping this resident. She had some pets and some other situations, health issues. And unfortunately, the resident at this home did pass away, and the health officer continued to work with helping with the pets that were still in the home and some of the other issues, again, with the help of the police department, animal control officer. So it was quite a lengthy issue. But
Now, this issue was also, I will say, was discussed at the BHHC
Yes,
Thursday
yes,
night meeting as well. And so, as with any town, we have had hoarding situations, unfortunately. And those hoarding situations happen in all different neighborhoods. It's not just the affordable units that have hoarding situations. They've been elsewhere in town, including single-family residents as well. Our police department, our Board of Health, unfortunately have expertise in dealing with this and coordinating with the county. It is troublesome when it is in a condo because it's not just the one unit that is affected by the hoarding situation, especially when there are animals involved. And sometimes those animals are living and sometimes they are not living. And that creates a concern for the entirety of the condo building, let alone the condo association itself. The discussion at the BHHC meeting was looking for ways in which the township, BHHC, the condo associations can all work to help remediate not just the one unit that's impacted, but also the surrounding units that may also suffer and perhaps may make some of those adjacent units inhabitable. So that is something that I think will be on a list for further consideration by BHHC or the Affordable Housing Advisory Committee as we move forward, but also certainly something that all the associations need to do. And they need to, look, once again, we have a condo president on our township committee, or a former condo president, and these are problems that are unfortunately fall upon the association. And when they fall upon the association, those expenses then get borne by all the residents of that association in forms of dues or insurance or other financial obligations that need to be put in place. Yeah, and lawyers. It's not easy to dispossess someone, but it all depends on how the condo association operates. Ms. Sullivan, is that the end of that incident,
Yeah,
or is there more?
It was just the Board of
coming?
Health just wanted to relay their, how they commended the health officer and her action. It was, but she has done this several times and you can only take it so far, and then her obligations, come to an end, so.
Right, and I know that our town attorney, John Bellardo, has also been coordinating with
Yeah,
the
we've
health
had
department.
several of these over the years.
And we have to,
Very difficult.
unfortunately, we have some experience in this, and, it is an unfortunate situation. There's usually mental health crises involved as well. And sometimes there are families that can assist, and sometimes, unfortunately, there aren't. And that really becomes a problem for those associations. So thank you again to Himanshi for all her work and for all those at the Board of Health. Okay. Discussion on introduced ordinances. We have none. Introduction of ordinances. We have none. Public hearing of ordinances. We have none. We have 4 items on the consent agenda. If anyone has anything they want to pull off the consent agenda, please tell us now. Colin's nodding no. Gina is nodding no. Doug?
No.
No. Renee? No. If there's no questions on the consent agenda, may we have a motion to approve the items on the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, this would be roll call vote. Mr. Stevenson?
Aye.
Mr. Hickey?
Aye.
Ms. Moreski? Aye. Ms. Fernandez?
Aye.
Mayor Jacobs?
Aye.
Thank you.
We have 2 resolutions that are not on the consent agenda. The first resolution is Resolution 2020-092, a resolution stating that the governing body of the Township of Bedminster has reviewed at a minimum the general comments and recommendations of the registered municipal accountant on the annual audit for 2019. Ms. Sullivan, this is a routine. Every year we get this resolution.
Yes, you've all received a copy of the comments page from the audit for 2019 from the auditor. We have a affidavit that you all need to sign. So please stop by so you can sign it for me, that you have, it's just stating that you have read that page. And as a result of those comments, the CFO is then obligated to prepare a corrective action plan for those comments, which she has done. And there's a resolution, that's the next one coming up, that approves that plan. So those are the 2 resolutions this evening.
And I believe that Mayor Parker, at least his, may still be on Zoom, so he certainly remembers having gone through these corrective action plans before. And Ms. Sullivan, real quickly, just so that while we have an audience, what's the corrective action plan?
You want it?
Well, I have it in front of me, but.
Yes, you do. Hold on.
But I guess why do we even have a corrective action plan?
Well, if the auditor has a comment, and it's usually some sort of item within the township should be corrected, the CFO needs to come up with a solution to that problem. Unfortunately, for Bedminster, the comment we get year after year is the same, that we don't have enough employees in the finance department that to accommodate all the requirements by the finance department. So unless we want to hire a bunch more people, we're always going to have that comment, as
Right.
do most
Small
towns in the
towns.
state. Small towns. in
So
the
as
state of
most
New
small
Jersey.
towns,
Right.
they share, in most small towns, the employees within the finance department share jobs. So every year, this is a comment that is directed to Bedminster and other towns of our size,
Correct.
suggesting segregation of duties. But if you run a small town, you can't efficiently operate unless you have a number of duties that are combined in those job descriptions. So every year, we've been dealing with the same corrective action plan and the audit recommendations. And every year, we get a resolution like this. So, to the Township Committee, are there any questions or comments regarding Resolution 2020-092?
092.
No comments, Mayor.
No question.
Okay, we have a motion to approve?
So moved. Oh,
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
aye.
Thank you. Please
Aye.
remember to stop by and sign it.
And then related to Resolution 2020-092 is Resolution 2020-093, approving the corrective action plan. So Judy, I think we talked about the corrective action plan. So just read it real quick. The finding, the township does not maintain an adequate segregation of duties with respect to the recording and treasury functions. The recommendation, having adequate segregation of duties be maintained with respect to the recording and treasury functions. Explanation and corrective action, as there are a limited number of personnel employed with the township, it is not possible to further segregate duties of the recording and treasury functions. Due to budgetary constraints, no resolution can be made at this time. This is the same corrective action plan description that we've been dealing with over and over again.
Yes.
And once again, as a small town, this is how all small towns operate. And this is the only comment that we've ever had through the auditing process. Any questions or comments from the Township Committee on Resolution 2020-093?
No.
No comment, Mayor.
We have a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Again, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, that's it for resolutions. We have a motion to approve the bill list pending review of individual invoices.
So moved.
Second.
Again, roll call vote. Mr. Stevenson?
Aye.
Vicky?
Aye.
Mareski?
Aye.
Ms. Fernandez?
Aye.
Mayor Jacobs?
Aye.
Okay, please remember to stop by and sign your purchase orders. We cannot send out checks to vendors without them being signed. Thank you.
Thank you. So next and finally, thank you to all the folks who are interested in the Black River speeding situation. Thank you for staying with us till 9 o'clock. I'm going to turn this issue over to Committeewoman Mareski.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for staying. We still have a couple things that we need to speak about with Paul Ferraro, and he wasn't able to make it tonight, but we did hear that there were some comments for people who live out on Black River Road. So we thought this would be a good night to have you come in and tell us what's going on. And I do have at least 8 emails here of people who had sent in their comments already. So
originally Paul was supposed to present.
Paul was supposed to present an idea for using speed humps, and we're not sure that that's the way to go yet. So we were going to have some conversations still with Paul and the chief, one of our residents, Paul Brown, but in
Doug Brown.
Doug Brown, sorry. I went to school with two Doug Brown. Do you think that would stick in my head? But we did get the comments, so we thought this was a good time to hear people and
Now,
get the
did-
comments while Paul was
Yeah,
still
I
working
had
on
gotten
some
a couple
things.
of phone calls and a couple of emails from people who said, you know, was it true that there was there a discussion about speed humps on Black River Road? And I said, yes. And these people wanted to be heard, so.
Now, was Paul still designing, or was he saying these were going to be, was he supposed to present a list of options of speed hump varieties?
Yeah, when he was in on Thursday, he had, he was finalizing his proposal.
Okay.
And I mentioned to him at that time that I had been contacted by several residents in Pottersville, and maybe there was more to the story. So he kind of said, well, you know, when's the meeting? And I said, well, don't forget Monday night. And he said, oh, I can't make Monday night. So we said, well, why don't we listen to the people that have more comments and before we go any further with his plan.
Okay. All right. So Renee, do you want to,
So Judy, is there anybody
You want-
raising their hand?
you want
let's-
to take
jump in.
do we still have the chief on?
So the chief is here. You want to?
You want to take the chief, take him off mute?
Where is the chief? Here he
He's
is.
in the middle.
Chief.
Oh, I have him on the side.
Hey, chief.
Hello, good evening.
So, Chief, I think the last thing I remember hearing about this is Mr. Brown remarked that, you know, in some of the data that had been developed from the speed sign on, I guess on both speed signs, is that it was picking up some of the bicyclists. And I will say, having biked down Black River Road, you'll definitely see it give your speed as you pass it. And Mr. Brown's comment was that, you know, with all the bicyclists, you're essentially artificially decreasing the average speed. Mr. Brown can, yeah. And I think that's a great question because once again, having biked that and certainly seeing it myself, so it does call into question whether the average speed we're seeing is truly reflective of vehicular traffic, or is it being artificially decreased because of bicyclists, and that if you were to focus, or there's a way to focus only on vehicles, on auto vehicles and trucks, you might see that number go up a bit.
No, absolutely, Mayor. I mean, I took another look at the sign after Mr. Brown brought that, you know, to our attention, and there is no minimum speed where you can set it to, you know, trigger at 15 and above. So it's counting, you know, whatever is going to enter the radar's path, and it's recording it. So, you know, I don't know, you know, how many bicycle, you know, you'd have to figure out bicycle traffic versus motor vehicle traffic, which is, you know, that machine is not designed to do that. You know, I don't know where we stand with, you know, the lower end of it. You know, it's just like somebody backing out of their driveway and then accelerating in front of the sign. It's going to read lower than the actual speed of the average vehicle. So, you know, after we met with engineer Ferrero, you know, he devised, you know, his plan that speed humps, you know, in the roadway. Is that the right way to go? I don't know.
We already know what that does. Okay. Thank you, Chief. So is there anybody who's on the call that wants to comment about the temporary proposal, the sort of proposal for the speed humps? Any comment back there?
So Judy, once again,
So at the bottom of your screen, there's a little reaction button that you can raise your hand or do a thumbs up and we can call on you. Okay, I see Doug Brown.
Doug's first, go ahead. Hey,
Okay.
Mr. Brown, how are you today?
Hi, everyone. I actually received an interesting call from Mark Schur, who lives on Southfield, and I believe has been affiliated with the Pottersville Fire Department. either currently or in past years. And we had a good long conversation, and he said that somehow he had gotten called in on this just to, I think he was down at actually at the town hall, and somebody grabbed him and chatted about it. And he just kind of pointed out to me that, well, you know, there are some concerns from the fire department if and when they dispatch the large ladder truck down Black River, and there's a series of speed humps, you know, they're going to have to essentially stop twice at every one. And, you know, depending on how many there are going through the village, you know, that could, you know, decrease the response time. And, you know, obviously we don't want to fix one problem and then create another public safety problem. So, you know, that was very, very valid consideration that he brought up. But so then he threw out some suggestions, just kind of off the cuff of, well, what if the suggestion was made to kind of extend the 25-mile-an-hour zone further south, kind of across Herzog Brook, and start it there and put the initial warning sign there as a reminder. And, you know, I said, well, again, if people care, then having an earlier warning, yeah, we'll let them slow down sooner, but that does nothing for the southbound traffic, because, you know, again, the southbound sign is much further up, closer to the church. And, you know, by the time the southbound traffic is hitting the Southfield intersection, it's starting to wind up, and they're, you know, they're punching it and using my curve, the two curves right in front of the house, as a slingshot to get going 50 miles an hour on down Black River in the 35-mile-an-hour zone. So that's not going to do anything for the southbound traffic, which in theory, and Paul said, yes, speed humps will, in practice, slow the traffic. So again, to address the fire department concern, you know, is it, do you limit it to 2 speed humps down here right at the end of town, which would serve as a reminder for the northbound traffic coming into the village that, hey, we are serious about this, please slow down. And it would be then a deterrent for the southbound traffic that, hey, look, you know, start revving it up to 45, you're going to bottom out here. You know, again, I don't want to cause a problem by fixing a problem, but we have a problem that needs to get fixed. So, you know, I would just want to be creative on how we fix it.
Okay, thanks, Doug. As I review some of these emails, most of the comments are that they would prefer to just have more police presence. They really are opposed to the speed humps. Chief, is that something that we could actually do? I know we don't have all the resources in the world, but is that something that we could try first before we try adding speed humps to the street?
So we're up there. I mean, we show our presence. We, you know, we have to treat every roadway within the Township of Bedminster, and we get speeding concerns on multiple roads. So we will do our due diligence and send vehicles up there on a structured detail. You know, is it last month? Is it this month? But, you know, it's required to send vehicles up there. You know, so if we send somebody up there and then we get a situation somewhere else in town while they're leaving, so you're not going to see the police asset sitting there for an extended period of time, because, you know, that's the price of really doing business. But is it the police presence that's going to slow it down? I mean, where the signs are, we're limited to the areas where we can actually set up and structure and run radar on Black River Road. So, you know, we're up there, you know, the numbers don't lie. So for anybody that says, you know, the police aren't up there actively looking for violators and patrolling the streets up in Pottersville and any other part of the township, you know, it's untrue. So, you know, I don't know how to increase police presence when, you know, the target times are rush hour, when the major highways are, you know, bustling with accidents and we get calls for service. So, you know, I don't want to say we're stretched thin, but I can't deploy an officer up there for long periods of time because we need them in other places.
Sure, understood. Okay, one of the residents mentioned some vehicles that are going through that, on that road, such as tractors, school buses, landscaping business trailers. Do the neighbors who are on this call, do you guys see a lot of that out there? And would you, in your mind, would the speed humps affect their travel?
I see Tom Anderson has his hand up. I'm going to unmute.
That'd be great. Hi, Mr. Anderson. Oop. Unmute,
Wait a minute.
unmute. Hang on.
There you go.
Hello?
There you go, Tom.
Hello.
Okay. I understand Doug's concerns. I really do. But I don't think, in fact, I'm totally against the speed bumps. Totally. There's too many instances where, like Ms. Moreski said, that that I put in my email to her, emergency services is primary as far as I'm concerned, because I've been part of the fire company for 50 years. And it only takes one call to have the speed bumps mess up the reaction time. The other thing is ambulance calls. You don't know what patient in the ambulance is suffering from. Speed bumps will reduce response to a hospital, and also jarring the patient as they go over the bump. You don't know what it might, add to. Farmers, we have 2 farming outfits that use Black River all the time, and they both come by with their big farming equipment and the rolls of hay and all that sort of stuff. So and we have tractor trailers that even come down this road. We had 3 come down, 2 or 3 come down this week. So if they have to stop at each speed bump and start up again, it's going to be disturbing to the people. Police presence. Yeah, I kind of agree that it could be a little bit better. Carl, I think I've talked to you a couple of times, and quite honestly, the time frame that the people are up here, and they're here. Trust me, I understand it. I talk to them all the time. The time frame that they should be here is more at the beginning of the day when people are going to work, and especially at the end of the day between 4 and 6 coming home from work. That's the primary time that I see people going above 30 miles an hour. 25 to 30, you're going to get that. So I don't know how, that's just the way it is. But the police have been trying. Now, we also do get drive-throughs from Tewksbury, because naturally they go down McCann Mill Road and then they'll come up Black River. So that's why you see outside police presence. They can stop somebody if they feel that they're going too fast. And I'm sure, knowing Timmy Barlow, he's directed his people over in Tewksbury to do that. So, their presence might help also. But I'm just totally against the speed bump idea.
Okay, I think Mr. Brown had another comment. Yes?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, and just to add to Tom's point about the times and the weekends, kind of midday on Saturdays and Sundays, you get the motorcycle crowds coming through, and the sports cars. The Black River, understood, it's a great road to drive, but wait until you get out of town before you start enjoying the road. Obey the law in the village. And say the weekends are a bad time.
Judy, was there any other thing from the calls that you remember?
All I wanted to add was that the mayor and I did have a short discussion with Public Works Director John Mance this morning. He wasn't able to be here tonight, but he did discuss the possibility of additional signage that he would be discussing with Paul Ferrero and the placement of that signage, that was part of, that was a possible, we could do that, which is simply probably a resolution, so.
Yeah, and what I think John was saying, and maybe this is close to what Mr. Scheer was discussing with Mr. Brown earlier, John Matt was saying, perhaps move the sign rather than right in front of Mr. Brown's property, move it further to the south. So it creates you're warned before you're coming into the village. I think there's a lot of issues, a lot of options out there. And, unfortunately we don't have Paul here, but, Renee, I'm not sure where you want to go, if you want to convene Mr. Brown with some of the other residents and Paul and John and the chief.
We could have a big party. We could do that. Mr. Anderson, would you be willing to join us?
Sure, I'm available anytime.
Okay, so maybe we get Mr. Anderson, Mr. Brown, John Mance, Paul, the chief.
Oh, you want to, Mr. Brown's trying to get back on.
Sorry.
Sorry, no, I was just wondering, I think Ted's screen was trying to raise her hand.
Oh,
Ted? I think Ted was trying to say something, so I'm just going to mute.
Ted,
Where's Ted?
Hold on, I'm right here.
There he is.
There I am. As a resident of this township for over 70 years, and my dad was the mayor of Bedminster Township in the late 70s, early 80s, we had the same problems then. And he would try to get the police to patrol at appropriate times. Also, what he used to do is take one of the old police cars and put a dummy in it, and we moved it around. He did. There's an option.
Chief, we have an old car we could put out there?
Got two of them sitting there.
I mean, we have cars. I guess you could try that. They've, that was the thing in the past where you put a dummy in the car and obviously the car just parked in a location, but you got to continually get up there to move it.
Right. Well, Tommy's retired. I'm retired. We have plenty of time on our hands.
Just give us a key.
Yep. Think about it.
It's an option.
Chief, what do you think about giving Tom Anderson keys to a police car?
I'm gonna have to get back to you on that in the morning.
If you're giving out keys to a police car, I think Doug Stevenson would like to go too.
Oh, great.
Give me a badge.
All right, I'll put that group together and then we'll sit and talk some more. Because there are obviously very disparate ideas on how to handle this, but I'm sure we can come together to find some kind of good answer.
And we'll all have some speed hump options at that time. Is he ready?
Yeah, we have a preliminary proposal, but it wasn't final, so we didn't hand it out tonight.
Okay, and certainly from the township's perspective, and Renee will take this, but we don't want to make a bad situation worse. This is not about money. Speed humps are not going to be expensive. It's just we want to make sure that whatever we do doesn't worsen the situation.
Exactly.
So have fun, Renee.
All right, I'll reach out to everybody and we'll get something together.
I think Bill had a comment.
Oh, sorry. Here we go.
Yeah, hello?
Hi, Bill.
Yeah, you're good.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, Bill Tischer. I live at 1881 Black River Road, and I appreciate what the police have been doing. And I live where I can see the patrol car and in Southfield Drive. And frequently, as soon as the patrol car leaves, the speeding starts again. Clearly, the presence helps. But when they're not there, It just returns, and it is a problem. Years ago, I had a friend who lived in Peapack Gladstone, Ernie Houseman. I don't know if any of you know him, but one time he told me that, hey, Bill, if you come through town, you have to slow down because we're serious and you're going to be ticketed. And I never sped through town anyway, but I took his words to heart. And the few times I go through the borough of Peapack Gladstone, the traffic is slow going through town. And I don't know what the situation is now because Ernie's moved and I don't get over there that often, but it helped. They were strictly enforcing the speed limit. I know that. So I don't know if that can be done, if that would help or not. I too would rather not see speed bumps, but if that's what it takes to control the speeders, so be it.
Thank you, Bill.
Okay, Bill.
Thank you for listening to me.
Thank you.
Chief, thoughts?
Well, my thoughts are just getting back to Bill's comments that, our township engineer, we were able to get speed data from signs that Peapack and Gladstone do have. And they also have a speeding problem. So I don't know how far Bill's going back with, don't speed in the Peapack. But, we're out there, and if somebody's exceeding the speed limit, the officer will stop them, and it's a matter of, to me, it's education as well. We're not out there looking to write ticket. We're out there to educate the motoring public that the speed limit's 25, slow down, have a great day. So, we're up there. I'm at my CAD numbers don't lie. Our structured radar posts, my officers assign different radar posts when we get complaints. In Black River Road, we're up there almost every other month, and that's just structured radar posts. So, my numbers don't lie, and, we're doing the best we can. That's all I can, to put out there.
Understood, Chief. Doug, did you have something else? Did you raise your hand again? Oop.
Yeah, sorry. Just a question. Chief, are you saying that they're on a every other month rotation to come out?
It all depends. You have to understand that Bedminster is a lot bigger than a Peapack and Gladstone. I have a lot of other residential streets and, the appearance of speeding. So we will, disperse our people accordingly, depending on what's going out, on through the rest of the operational period on any given day. So, is it every other month? Is it, 2-week rotations? It all depends on, what else we're seeing throughout the township.
Yeah.
So
understood, and all due respect, but every other month or it's going to take like daily presence and weekend constant presence to change the culture, because
Mr. Brown, I get it. So, I'm the administrator of the police department, and I tell my officers we're going to do this. Okay, if it's not the month that I say we're hitting a certain roadway, I expect my officers to, patrol and do everything else that's required of them as a law enforcement officer within the township of Bedminster. So I'm not saying you won't see a police car, not this month, but next month. You're going to see us up in Black River, but you're going to see a saturation of structured enforcement. I have a Vario message board. I could bring that up there and say, please slow down. Speed limit 25. There's other options here. We thought the radar signs were going to help us to help, the residences up there. And, obviously, there's still a concern.
And like I've said, I'm sorry, just like I've said before, I think it has helped the casual speeder who doesn't realize he's doing it. But we've got a serious problem of folks using this as a motorway and, taking the fun curves and not caring what the speed limit is, as evidenced by the flipped middle fingers as they're flying by me in my front yard.
But I understand your frustration, but it's our job to enforce the law. So, instead of engaging, just give us a call And you've already made it clear that they're there on the weekends, and, my weekends are pretty heavy currently right now, but, we're doing the best we can with what I have out there on the road, sir.
All right, well, we'll get together again and we'll look to see Paul's plan, if perhaps that is something that will work for everybody, or if it can be modified to address the fact that a lot of people don't want speed humps. Maybe there's some kind of something we can do with that. And maybe we'll have to scrap that idea and find something else. But we'll get together and talk some more, because this is really important. And there are other places in town that have the same kind of problem. So maybe if we can solve it on Black River Road, we can solve it in some other places too.
Good point. Good point, Renee. And I do once again want to thank Mr. Brown for raising this issue, and also for raising the issue of discounting the lower speed numbers, which are more than likely attributable to bicyclists, including very slow bicyclists. Me. Judy, we have another item, best practices checklist inventory for 2020.
This should be short and sweet. Every year, the best practices checklist inventory is presented to each municipality. Each town must go through it, answer the questions honestly, and attain points. This year, there are 29 questions. A town will get a point or a half a point possibly for each yes answer. This year, Bedminster's total was a total of 22 points, and a town must attain at least 16 points to keep 100% of their state aid. I'm happy to report that we are able to do that this year. I handed out a copy of the checklist to everybody. I have to submit this to the state by November 3rd. So please, if you want to take a few minutes to look at it, see if there's anything on there that you need more information about, or have a question about the answer that was given. I worked with the engineer and the public works director and our CFO and our IT manager to get all the answers together. But if there's anything on there that you have a question about, just shoot me an email and we can address it. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you. New business. There is an item on for new business, construction on Washington Valley Road. Ms. Sullivan.
Yeah, we got an email earlier this week from Somerset County Road Department. They, I don't know if it's done. I know they're in the process of putting in a crosswalk with emergency flashers on Washington Valley Road, connecting the Timberbrook neighborhood with Hills Drive. And we knew that there were requests from some residents in the Hills and Timberbrook for this type of a crosswalk for safety. But we had no idea that the county had agreed to do it and that they were installing it. I checked with the engineer. He had no idea that it was coming until all of a sudden I know they reached out to the police for some additional police assistance during the construction, and it's in. The request we got from the county was to, number one, notify us of the project, and number two, ask us if we would adopt a shared service agreement with the county to provide future maintenance for the lights. This is, again, a surprise. Check with the engineer. He said they're LED lights. Shouldn't be too much maintenance. The lights last for a fairly long time. Checking with Public Works, the concern is, well, what if they get hit, if they get damaged due to a motor vehicle accident of some sort or something else? And, how much did they cost? What kind of money? We have no idea. So this kind of came out of the blue. I don't know that Public Works or the engineering or police support us maintaining it. I'm happy to see it's there. So I don't know what Township Committee thinks about it, but I have no details of how much it costs or anything at all. So this came out of the blue this week.
Have they sent us over their proposed agreement?
They did. I did give you a draft of the proposed shared service agreement. It's pretty short and sweet, and just asks us going forward to maintain any future costs that result from this project
That they installed
that they installed.
on their own idea.
Yeah. So
Did they do that today?
the county would be responsible to install. It's at no cost to the municipality. They will provide all the necessary materials. They will be responsible for future relocation or removal or installation of any portion in the future for all costs. They will not be responsible for necessary work or costs associated with the operation. And the municipality in perpetuity at its own expense will inspect, operate, and maintain the system, including, not limited to, the operation of the push buttons, the LED lighting, and the solar-powered battery system.
So this is going across Hills Drive, not going across Washington Valley.
No, it's across Washington
It's
Valley.
across Washington Valley?
Yes,
To go from Timberbrook,
to.
which is on
Hills
one
Drive.
side of Washington
Right.
Valley, to the other side of Washington Valley, which is the beginning of Hills Drive.
All right, then maybe I'm not looking at this drawing. Oh, that just, okay, so what that one drawing is just showing the existing crosswalk.
Correct. So there's a crosswalk right now, that's across Hills Drive, that's there.
Well, I
Picture
don't see
doesn't
it,
show where it is.
no. Well, I think we all need a little bit more time.
Yeah, I think we need some more time. So
And we might need to hear
I asked the township engineer to reach out to the assistant county engineer to get some more details, and we'll review this further probably the next meeting.
Right, also,
Paul's
it's
gonna be
interesting
here.
that we have Paul saying accept it, and we've got John Mance, who thoroughly seems opposed to it.
Well, we don't know how much, what's this gonna cost us, what does this involve? We had no idea.
Well, the nice thing looks like if they're gonna put it on the south side of that intersection, you'll be able to walk from Timberbrook across Washington Valley, across to like Fresh Market, and then up to Kings, all on a sidewalk.
Correct.
So
But-
that would be
So,
nice
yeah,
for
it's
those
nice.
residents, yeah.
It's nice, but I have no idea what kind of cost might be connected to it, so.
I just have a question. Is Washington Valley Road is a county road?
Yes.
And who usually pays for like the lighting and stuff like that on that road?
Yeah.
The county would pay for any maintenance on that road.
That's all I want to know.
Just one other consideration. I know there's been some concern in the past about the kids waiting for the bus and crossing that road for their bus stop. So obviously we have to understand the cost, but we also have to think about the safety considerations and whether or not this might serve that segment as well.
I don't think the question is, do we want it? I think the question is, they're putting it
They're
in
putting it in.
and they want us to agree to
Okay.
maintain it.
It's a county road. They have the jurisdiction to put it in.
Right.
The question is our participation on the cost sharing.
No.
So I will work with Mr. Mance and Mr. Ferrero and hopefully get some more details because this was rather sudden.
Could you see if you can get John and Paul to agree?
If I could just add one comment that, I'd also like to know what does it entail to maintain, how often is that supposed to happen? Because, and who is that going to fall on?
Right.
Right. Also, to some extent, what we can find out from Paul in the conversations with the county is, look, it's an agreement. Agreements can be drafted, negotiated. Perhaps if there's room for
So,
negotiation, we can
basically,
fine tune
more to
what those
come.
obligations and responsibilities are.
Right. If they were to say not to exceed X, Y, and Z amount, I mean, it's a little bit more tangible as opposed to just, leaving it open-ended like that.
Right. I mean, and if it's struck by a motor vehicle and obviously we get there and we identify the vehicle, it should be an insurance matter going back on the operator's insurance But, if it's a hit and run and somebody just takes that sign down, well, I think the whole cost is bore by the township.
I think we need more information.
Absolutely. I agree. We're working on it. But I just want to let you know, because it's being constructed as we speak. So if you get questions, I hope to get you more answers.
Okay, old business, COVID-19 situation. I usually take this at the beginning of the meeting. Let me take it now. So October 19, we on the county website are identified as having 66 cases. I've seen the recent emails that have come in from the county. Once again, an interesting mix of age ranges, 21-year-old, 27-year-old, a few older ages that were identified in the last couple of weeks. Fatalities still at 4, which is unfortunately a good news. Again, about how we number on the county website at 5, down to 4, back to 5, down to 4, up to 5, down to 4, staying at 4. And you've all heard this before. Those numbers do not include the antigen or the rapid tests. So those are laboratory confirmed numbers that get reported through the state program back down to the county program, then the county releases the data. So, I assure you that there are more than 66 cases of COVID-19 in Bedminster since the inception of the testing or the inception of the pandemic. So once again, the same recommendation that we've been making from day one: wash your hands, social distance, wear a mask. Please continue that. Yes, I know it may be an inconvenience, but right now, until there's vaccines, other than treatment, it's one of the few ways we have of minimizing the spread. So please do your best. Short-term rentals, I think we will skip that. Engine braking, I think we will skip that as well. Pluckman Park code enforcement. So Committeeman Stevenson had talked about, once again, just, whether it's a tone deafness out there from the owners and property managers over at Pluckman Park when they're supposed to identify paint colors, to just bring a can of paint and show a can of paint at a Zoom meeting seems inappropriate. Once again, we've kept Pluckman Park on our old business so we don't lose sight of the repairs that we compelled to have been made, and to make sure that additional maintenance, including the painting of the facility, moves forward, and that we continue to keep them in our sites. Committeeman Stevenson, anything further?
No, Mayor, but you said it. Let's keep this on the agenda. Let's keep it on the list. We'll keep, we'll just keep at it. We'll just do it the hard way.
Okay. JCP&L outages, Committeeman Hickey.
Mayor, a couple of quick items. First off, the work on the transformer upgrades on Hills Drive has been completed ahead of schedule and at our request. Just a reminder, these are being upgraded so that power can be quickly rerouted in the event of an outage and service restored more quickly. There was a meeting last week between JCP&L, mayors, elected officials, and municipal and county OEM. The intent of that meeting was to review response protocols after a storm event and understand opportunities for improved coordination. This is one of several actions that's being pursued in light of the storm response in August. And then also I received some feedback that residents in some of the neighborhoods are receiving notices detailing their responsibility for outside equipment, which doesn't make any sense. So I'm currently working with JCP&L to track down what is being sent out, who's it being sent out to, and why it's being sent out. So we'll get some more details on that, and I'll report back next time on what we found out.
Can you just repeat that?
they are receiving in condo units notices that they are responsible for outside equipment. Now, obviously, if you own a condo, that is more than likely the responsibility of the utility and/or the homeowners association in certain instances. It would not be the individual condo or unit owner. So these notices may be sent out by mistake. They may be sent out by a different billing group, maybe out in Ohio. We're not sure who's sending them out, but we're getting complaints now, and it seems to be multiple complaints about it. So I'm just trying to figure out who's doing it, and why.
And those notices are going to individual unit
Yes.
owners, not the associations.
Yeah.
Correct. They're showing up as bill inserts, from what I understand. Now, again, this is typical of utilities where they, for example, the water company will ping a homeowner and say, hey, that water line on your property is your responsibility. If it breaks, you have to repair it. And oh, by the way, we'll offer you, $9.95 a month. We'll make sure to take care of it as an insurance plan. A lot of utilities do that for their underground cabling, wiring, that kind of stuff. This would not seem to be appropriate for unit owners in the hills of condo units. So let me track it down and figure out what's going on. And JCP&L is aware of it. They've been getting calls on it as well and doing truck rolls, trying to respond to it. So I need to find some more information out and track it down.
I do remember Jackie Weber at one point a couple of years ago mentioned something very similar. And I'm just wondering if this is a retelling of that same story, is where, pay the insurance and, you're good to go.
Yep.
Yeah. So Jeff Leonard is there. Jeff, are you,
I've not received it myself, and this is the first I'm hearing that this is happening again, at least from JCP&L. I've not seen it myself, but in a condominium, that it does not include fee simple, but in a condominium, you are not responsible for any laterals outside your unit, period. Right. So if anybody's receiving that, we need to let the utilities know, that because people that are naive are going to just, blindly pay for it, thinking they're getting something that they're never going to benefit from. So I'll talk to Jackie about it too and see if she has noticed anything. So.
And Jeff, I'll coordinate it with you as well. At the end of the day, it may not be JCP&L that's sending it out. You always have rogue actors.
We got some scammers coming at us in all directions. So.
Correct. So we'll do some more investigation, but I'll definitely coordinate with you as well.
Now, were they mailed, or was this something that people are receiving electronically?
My understanding is it's coming in the mail as an insert, but I'm not, or as a notice, but I'm not exactly sure what. I've asked for a copy of it so I can see it and we can figure out, or at least start to track down where it originated.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
And Colin, when you say you're taking this up with JCP&L, is that with Carol Bianchi?
Correct, because they have been receiving calls at their field office and dispatching trucks trying to respond to it as well, because the unit owners are getting it, concerned. They call up JCP&L saying what's going on, and the local office is trying to deal with that. So we're all a little stumped and trying to understand the source of it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And staying with Committeeman Hickey, New Jersey American water rate increase.
Thank you, Mayor. Just to recap, we are legal interveners in a rate case against New Jersey American Water that went to trial in mid-September. Those proceedings are continuing, and we are hopeful to have final word and hopefully some good news on the outcome of those proceedings before our next meeting.
Okay, thank you. And hopefully, if things go according to plan, we may have a press release to issue if things go according to plan.
Correct.
Which would hopefully be a meaningful settlement. Okay, that is it for old business. Township Committee comments. Committeeman Stevenson.
Thank you, Mayor. No comments tonight.
Thank you. Committeeman Hickey.
No need to prolong this meeting. Thank you, Mayor.
Committeewoman Mareski.
I just want to say thank you for all our residents who joined us on this Zoom meeting for both BHHC and the traffic things, because it's good to hear all sorts of opinions, because the five of us certainly don't know everything, even when we think we do, or at least I do. So thank you, everybody, for showing up.
Thank you. Committeewoman Fernandez.
Just going to keep it short and sweet and say I agree 100% with Renee. Thank you.
And I will end the Township Committee comments. Please note that for folks out there, we do have an executive session. We will not be taking any action following executive session, nor will we be returning to open session. So once we finish Township Committee comments, we make a motion to adjourn to executive session. That will be it for the public portion of the meeting. And just, excuse me, like Committeewoman Fernandez, I too agree with everything Committeewoman Mareski said about the folks coming out and for both the affordable housing issue and for the Black River Road speeding issue. That's all I have. May we have motion to adjourn to executive session?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Judy, just give us 2 minutes. And for those who are still with us, thank you for attending. Chief, we will see you in exec.